this is part 2.
Part 2.
How you guys doing?
Doing great.
All right. We got Brother Julio again here, and Brother Tomas. Appreciate you guys coming on here and just talking about this. We did part 1 talking about the transports.
Yeah.
But it brought another subject because I didn't realize that you had never been in prison.
No.
But you did 5.5 years in county jail.
Yeah, true.
That is insane.
Yeah, that's
insane.
Like, I remember the first time I'm like, I don't want to go to prison. I don't want to go to prison. But once I got to prison, I'm like, I don't want to do county. Like, hopefully, when Christianity becomes illegal, I'm going to be sitting in that cell all over again. And I'm just like, don't take me to county. Take me straight to prison.
Guilty.
Right? And it's just a crazy thing because when you said you did 5.5 years in county, I'm like, hey, let's talk about this because I don't think people don't know the difference between county and prison. It's
huge.
Man.
Yeah. Well, they say Santa Rita is kind of like a prison in itself. You know what I mean? Not actually being a state prison, but the way it's designed and the way they house you there. But when I first got there, I was, to be honest with you, I didn't want to go to prison. I thought, okay, you go to prison, you're really going to start putting in work, and I know at some point that, as being, a northerner, active northerner at the time, that I had to, you know what I mean? So being in Santa Rita, I didn't think I was going to be there that long. But I say the first year it was hard. You know what I mean? It was like just stressful going to court and leaving in the morning, coming back late at night, and it got tiring. You know what I mean? But after I was there like 2.5 years, it seemed like it just kept rolling. It was like I rolled with it, and it got to the point to where I did tell my attorney, I said, I'll take 17. Just drop the L, just drop the L because they were coming out 25 to life, and that right there would put a hump on a camel's back. I was like, man, like come on, it was
like,
kind of,
come on now,
I'm like, for real, you know what I mean? Like, I seen things that people were going through, but me, I was thinking like, but it became real fast, you know what I mean? And there's nothing that you can do. It's just you have to roll with it, you know what I mean? And seeing people that you're interacting with in jail, playing domino game, laughing, and then realize after the game's over, I'm looking at all day, you know what I mean? I just had a little good time playing bones or whatever, but it was stressful, you know what I mean? And but
you were in Santa Rita, right?
Santa Rita, yeah. I was in on 4 building.
So Santa Rita, when you say you did 5.5 years there, you've never been to Santa Rita?
Mm-mm.
It is like a prison.
Yeah. I'm
trying to find how big this place is, man. Population 2,563. Capacity is 3,489. So you're talking about 3,500 inmates. I'm trying to see the size of it. It is huge. Okay, here it is. Let's see. Oh man, it doesn't say the size. It is just a huge place, but just being there, that's where I was at in the hall. Yeah. That's where I did my year in solitary over there in Unit 2, I think it was. Yeah. And it was a trip, man. I didn't realize the difference. I remember, when I was fighting my case, ex-cons that were refighting another case or whatever, they're just like, man, just take your time, man, just go to prison. I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't want to go to prison. And they're just like, no, man, it's better. Yeah. Have you ever had somebody tell you that?
So my experience with it is, so I did so much county time, right? So I'm comfortable doing county time. County time, I'm not tripping off, but I'm seeing these dudes come in, like, and they're talking about, I got out maybe about a week ago, and then they go to court, and I took 5. It took 5 months? No, 5 years. And I'm like, what you know what I'm saying? Like, man, I don't even want to be here. I just want to be on the next thing smoking. I want to get out of here. I just want to get to prison and get a program going.
Wow.
And I didn't understand that till I actually went to prison.
Yeah.
Like, even in Tracy, for you're on lockdown and reception and everything like that, but the food's better. You do got a better program. The cells, it's small, but when you got,
but you get yard time.
You get yard time,
yard time, and you get to, then not only that, you get to walk to chow, so you get to see everybody in your building, in whatever hall you're in. So and for me, like I said, and then once I got to make it to canteen, and they showed me a canteen list, I was like, oh, dude, like, what have I been doing? Like, now I've been seeing what these guys have been.
Yeah, because the county jail canteens are very bare bones.
Yeah.
But well, Santa Rita was kind of nice, but I mean, Now, did you ever get the
canteen card?
No. The oh man, with the
funny money kind of
oysters.
Oh, oysters. No.
They didn't get oysters.
They didn't have oysters.
Did you ever have oysters in the?
They didn't have here in the county. They had
Santa Rita. They did.
Really?
They had tuna pouches when I was there.
Yeah, tuna pouches and oysters. Man, do you get the oysters and tuna and make a spread?
Yeah.
Man, it's like Red Lobster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this county jail. When I first started going,
I've never been in Stanislaus County.
No, so I first started going in 95. 95? Yeah, 95. When I first turned 18, I went, and their canteen list from 95 to I stopped going for a minute until like 99, right?
Yeah.
And then it was crazy because then when I had to turn myself in and actually go to prison, I just went in and I was looking at their canteen list, and
all right,
it went from like you had 2 pages, one of hygiene and one of
it's 2 pages,
stuff.
yeah.
It used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And you come to one page and the front's full of hygiene and the back's like halfway of canteen, and I'm like, what the heck happened to canteen?
Oh, you thought it was a bunch of I can't eat deodorant.
And I was like, where's the food at? And they're like, oh, it's on the reverse side. And so you reverse it, you look it over, you're like, oh, what the heck?
Yeah.
But then they even started feeding like garbage. Before, you used to get like a hot soup and then a sandwich, like in the 90s.
Yeah.
You used to get a sandwich and a hot soup and, stuff like that. So, I mean, really, technically speaking, man, doing county time was cool. Like for me, it was at the time. And I was just like, man, you guys are crazy. You guys go to prison all you want.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But, even when you get to the honor farm or trustee quarters over here, man, trustee quarters was cool because you're right here downtown Modesto.
Yeah.
You're on the bottom. You get to walk around. It's just a big old pod. And then
that ain't bad.
Yeah.
Then honor farm. I mean, your barracks doors are open, so you get to run in.
Are you talking about the honor farm that they closed?
By Grayson.
Yeah, Grayson.
I remember visiting my older brother there.
Mm-hmm.
He got a DUI in Stanislaus County, and he got sentenced to a year. And I remember as a kid, because he was 8 years older than me, so I'm 10, he's 18.
Yeah.
Something like that. And I remember visiting him over there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean,
yeah, that blue, was that blue denim jacket? Yeah.
They look like the Dickie ones and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
And I mean, so that was my intake, was like when I first started doing, county time. But then you go to prison, and then, like I said, when you first get to prison, they hand you a sack lunch. And at the time, they ran out of jelly, so they just mixed the peanut butter with honey, which I eat all the time now.
Me
peanut
too.
Butter
Yeah,
with
that's
honey.
good.
Yeah.
That's the first time I had that was a honey. It was in federal prison, and now I prefer the honey with
than the jelly. And so they hand you that, and you're like, man, this is kind of. And then I ate it, and I'm like, oh, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
You and then when you get to whatever wing they're sending you to, East Hall, West Hall, whatever wing they're going to, and then you walk out for dinner, and then you see their dinner, what they're serving you for dinner, and you're like, oh man, what the heck? I haven't had, like spaghetti and all that stuff. So you're just going to town, and you're like, now you're seeing what all these dudes that have been doing time for. Now they're just like, man, just give me my time so I could go and start a program.
Yeah, well, like in the feds, new federal prisons, they don't have weight piles anymore. But the way the rule is that if the federal prison already has a weight pile, they don't take it out. But they tell the inmates, if it breaks, you lose it, don't get it back. You know what I mean? So you'll get in trouble, man. If you're getting dumbbells and you drop them on the floor,
inmates get mad.
Inmates are gonna get mad. You're gonna get in trouble. And I don't mean by COs. You're going to get in trouble by everybody else. But that was one favorite thing for me, because on and off all my life, I've liked lifting weights. I like eating too, but you know what I mean? So there's muscle under there, But so that was a huge thing for me, was to actually have a weight pile to go to.
Yeah.
And then they had a track. And then they had soccer teams. I didn't play soccer, but it was fun to watch. You know what I mean? Because they had basketball courts, handball courts. They had a gym for cardio.
Wow.
With 3 TVs.
Wow.
They had a couple bikes, few treadmills, I forgot what else, and TV. So everybody in federal prison, you get a radio, AM, FM radio. They cut one ear off because you have to be listening. Yeah. But you could watch, like they're watching TV and sports, and I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
Wow. And so obviously for me, going to the feds in that state, I mean, they call it Club Fed for a reason,
Yeah.
even though it wasn't a penitentiary, because that's a whole different thing, you know. Like Sharon's brother, he went to the penitentiary. I went to a low. It was a medium low, because it was Terminal Island's a medium low, and it was nice, man. And I'm just like, I've been sitting in cells, you know what I mean? Like this is awesome, you know. I mean, not awesome, but if you're gonna do time, you're gonna do time, you know. And then they had a chapel. And then they had a full-time chaplain. I could go talk to him, because in county, you ain't gonna talk to the chaplain unless you ride a kite. And maybe days later he'll come and see you for 5 minutes and do a quick prayer for you and bounce. You never see him again. Yeah. Where in prison, I could go to the chapel and talk to the chaplain every day. Yeah. You know, and we had emails. There was computers with emails. You couldn't send attachments or receive attachments, because you can't send pictures, because who knows what people start sending. You know, but you know, just to have email access to people. What else? Showers, because once they locked us in our unit, because it was because it was a medium low, it wasn't cells, it was dorm living. So you go into a dorm, say that it was building A, there's one side and two side, and then so they lock those at night. But within there, you got your microwaves. That's another thing. Wow. We had microwaves. County jail, all you have is your sink, and you got to wait 30 minutes for your noodles to blow up. You know, because it wasn't that hot. Yeah. And but here you got microwaves, and you're making all kinds of spreads, and showers. You can shower anytime you want, because it's in the unit. You know, and it was just it was a big difference for me. Now, obviously, you have the prison politics that, but my understanding, especially in the later time, it seemed like the county jails were pushing politics more than the prison, at least where I was at. Yeah. Because remember, the feds is different. You got all 50 states. You have Muslims there. You have Native Americans. Because Native Americans, if they do a crime on reservations, they go automatically to federal prison, because it's a federal land. Yeah. So the politics, you know, in county, it seems like they're pushing harder, because maybe a lot of people are never been in prison, so they're trying to push harder and try to prove themselves.
Equip them to when they get there. Yeah, you know I mean, it's not more of a shell shock. It's more like you already got your basics in county. So when you get there, they're schooling them, and because they're schooling them, they're more strict. Yeah. And I'm sure every state prison, some are stricter, even worse. I mean, you would have to experience state prison. Out of us three, you're the only one here that experienced state prison. Yeah. How was the politics between county and
honestly, I want to say reception was the worst politics, because
on and cracking.
Yeah, because everybody. I mean, it's not even. And the thing is that there's no pressure or anything. It's just amongst our own people. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy, because they're waiting to see if there's somebody on that BNLs. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Is he gonna come through? Is he gonna come through? Yeah. So they're hitting you with the NAQ like right away.
But they almost, it's almost like they want to find somebody to prove themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And and it's crazy, because you said, you know, in the county, the way Stanislaus County used to be, they used to have the 12-man tanks, right? And everybody was integrated. They knew not to put Southerners in there, but they had like three or four bunks of Northerners, 3 of white. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So everybody was kind of integrated in there, and the jumpsuits were just. If you wore a green jumpsuit, you were general pop. If you wore a blue jumpsuit, you were a parole violator. Yellow jumpsuit was 3-striker. Orange jumpsuit was protective custody. So, and the list goes on, right? And so that's how it used to be. Like, you used to be able to keep your tennis shoes. Yeah. And then eventually they ended up going to where you were wearing chanclas. They would give you chanclas. They take your shoes and everything and give you some sandals, like shower shoes, kind of, so to speak. Then they started, you know, in the 90s, when I stopped going for a little bit, that's when we were still in solid jumpsuits. And then when I came back in 2000, 2001, something like that, it was crazy, because now we got striped jumpsuits, and they're asking you, are you active? Are you not active? Are you this? Are you that? Are you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, whoa, hold on, you know what I'm saying? What happened to just a green solid jumpsuit? You know what I'm saying? And it was just crazy, just the transition. But then I got upstairs and I seen everybody all super serio in these cells, and you're like, oh man,
you're like, this vibe,
yeah.
You know.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
I think the thing that I liked the least about it, but you get to learn it after a while, was we're a house with it was all active gang members. I was always housed with another northerner.
Yeah.
There was active the blacks. There was active whites, but everybody was housed with the same race.
Yeah.
And we used to have this. It was called one up, one down. And basically, if my celly was on the rack, I was up looking out the window. Any doors that popped up, any movement that was there, I write it down. Everybody in each cell, every northerner cell, there's always gonna be one up, one down.
Yeah.
And at the end of the night, we did our, I guess you could say, a report. We write it. So I put my name, what hours I was up, and then we had this one, I guess you can call it the tier power worker that was walk by. We always had one that was a Mexican, a white, and a black, just so there's no racial tension. And when they came by, we'll slide it through the door, and they went to the guy that was holding Chano, that was holding in our building, and he'll look, and everybody had to have the same. If someone was up on your cell, you'll know who's going to appeal call, who what cell door got popped, who, talking to an attorney, whatever it may be, going out the south door, or whatever it may be. But it had to be the same, and there was some times where there were some people that they'll take a guess. They were guessing. They didn't, and they got to the point to where they're someone had to either get disciplined. And we went to chow. We all ate in our building. The way it was set up was that it was I think there was 25 cells on the east side. That was called the east, and then the west side. But they had plexiglass, and it was only 4 cells, 4 on top, 4 on the bottom, and it was a big old plexiglass. They divided the next 8 cells, and then another eight cells. So when you came out, you could see the homeboys next to it, but it's a thick plexiglass. So unless you go to the door, and then you can talk, but they never let anybody go to the door. If it was going to the door, they'll blink the lights. Everybody lock it down. There was no talking to the door. So you had to learn sign language. And I used to know how to do it pretty good, but as through time I lost it. How to do that, but that was the way that how I was programmed, and it was that was the one thing to get used to, was one up, one down, and that wasn't a daily. There was no we're gonna miss today. It was Monday through Sunday, every day. I mean, unless you went to court, then your cell you can go back to bed. And it was called where when you get up in the morning, you fix your bed. You weren't allowed to lay back in your bed. You lay on top, covered. And if anybody would come out and went to your cell and seen you both laying down, that was you're gonna get disciplined. And it was very structured, but then after a while you got used to that. But it was the little tedious things that you had to do to survive there. To be able to roll with it.
Yeah.
Came out to only did maybe like less than a week here, right here in Z quarters in Stanislaus County here. I came from the Bay Area on had a misdemeanor. Well, actually, it was called terrorist threats. They wanted to call it. So I ended up getting pulled over here. Went to the county here, and I was saying, okay, I go to the bottom. There's a little under where they take you to the little celly port there, and I was told that I was going to be in a brown bag. They will call it, and I was going to be in the working dorm. I guess they were
trustees.
Yeah, trustee dorm. And I was thinking like, cool. I've never been in a trustee dorm. And at the last minute, Valdez, you know what? No, hold on. Give me your clothes back. So I'm taking off this brown little suit, that little sweater, and they gave me the candy cane. You're going up to Z quarters. I'm like, and I already knew that. I was thinking, okay, I'm just going to slide through on a little, where I'm not going to be locked down, because I knew that I was going to be locked down just for my controlling case. Yeah. And sure enough, they shot me to Z quarters, and that was all active Northerners. Yeah. And when I went there, it was smashed down, and I knew that, okay, Santa Rita, they're not going to pick me up. I'm thinking, okay, it's too far to come for a little misdemeanor like that. But no, they picked me up on the 6th day. You know what I mean?
From where? From
right here. From
right here.
Yeah, downtown. They came actually here. They released me. I signed the paper, and then when they popped the door open, there was the Alameda County Sheriff right there, and they rearrested me.
You already knew.
And yeah, once I seen them through the glass, I knew what was happening. And I was seeing after the 7 days, if they weren't there, they got by law, they got to release me. Yeah. But he was there on the 6th day, and when I signed it out, I looked at him, and then boom, popped the door. Valdez, put your hands behind your head, and they started writing my rights, and I boom, put me in a little bus. We picked up somebody in Tracy, the city jail there, and then boom, we shot to Santa Rita, and I ended up doing 60 days for terrorist threats. And I'm thinking like, wow, they picked me all the way up from over there, but they weren't playing. You know what I mean? And I ain't been in trouble since then. You know what I mean? It's been a while.
That happened to me one time when I was fighting Operation Black Widow. I was fighting to get off bond because I knew this was going to be a drawn out case.
Yeah.
So my lawyer finally got me my bond after 30 days of being in North County, and then after that, I'm all happy. Like my family heard. So my parents, Tracy's kind of far for. My parents are older, you know what I mean, for them to be waiting. So they're waiting hours and hours and hours in North County. All of a sudden, they give me my clothes, and I'm just like, hey, what's taking so long? And they're like, just hold on. And then finally, my cell opens, and it was Tracy PD.
Oh, wow.
And I said, I'm not going home tonight, am I? And he's like, nope, you got a warrant.
Yeah. Change the plan.
Yeah. So, and I told the Tracy PD officer, I said, no. Actually, they told me before. I'm sorry. Before Tracy PD showed up, finally a sheriff came and he goes, "Hey, change of plans. You're not going home." That's what happened. Mm-hmm. He goes, "You have a warrant in your county, and they're on their way to come pick you up." And I said, "Can you please do me a favor and tell my parents, because my parents are out. They've been waiting all day long, and they're older. Can you please tell them?" Dude, he wouldn't tell them.
No.
Wow.
Yeah. So finally, when Tracy PD came, then I told him, I said, "Hey, officer," I said, "can you please, my parents came from Tracy.
Yeah.
Can you please tell my parents to go home?" And he's like, they didn't tell him? And I was like, "No." He goes, "Wow, that's messed up. I'll go tell him right now, Mr. Rocha." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tracy's small, so it's like, yeah, I'm a criminal, yeah, whatever, this and that, but there was still that respect, like, man, these Oakland people, we're from Tracy, we're gonna take care of our own.
Yeah.
So they went and told my parents that, So, but yeah, that's happened to me, where I thought I was gonna go home, and got rearrested all over again, and it was a Friday. I ended up going to court and getting OR'd, but I had to stay in San Joaquin County for that weekend.
Yeah.
From that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday or Tuesday, I got released.
Yeah.
Finally, after that, Well, I have a question for you though. Is you were in Santa Rita? Were you in Santa Rita when I was in Santa Rita, or my co-defendants?
I was locked up. I got locked up in the end of '95. I can't remember exactly what month it was. And I was there until like 2001, at the end of 2001.
Did you know about the case that was?
Yeah.
So you knew?
Yeah.
Did you know specifically, like, Sir Dino?
Well, I mean, I knew who you were, what I mean, but I didn't, I did to the magnitude of what was going on. I didn't know, but I mean, and I didn't believe it was in '97 or '98, beginning of '98 is when we heard that there was people there, and that's when we used to have jail mail. There was people that I knew from the streets, and we used to write jail mail in the morning. They'll get it evening at chow time, and that all stopped. People were getting clipped left and right. There was a good friend of mine, Big Mike from Oakland. I mean, they clipped him, out in Oakland for part of what was going on. And I didn't know the magnitude of it, but I knew it was something serious, and I knew that things were getting filtered through the county, you know what I mean? And there was things being hushed about, and there was a lot of guidelines, where movement wise, who did what and what what was said, and how they supposed to conduct yourself. But I believe it was some of the people. I don't know if all of them were there at the time, but I knew there was some what you want to say, big hitters that were there.
Yeah. So all three of you, now that we're serving God, do you think that incarceration structure has conditioned you to serve God in a different way than, say, a civilian?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like you say all the time, it's like, let your walk be louder than your talk. We went hard for the devil when we were in the world. Why can't we go hard for Jesus? And I mean, even though I wasn't saved at the time, I know that I had a calling in my life then, because who am I to be able to leave after 5.5 years in Santa Rita for the case I was fighting? You know what I mean? I don't take it pure luck. I don't. There was evidence against me, and then there was things that were in my favor. But nevertheless, that I was looking at that time, and I knew that God allowed me to be out here. And I know that there's a purpose, and as I read your book, and as I come to church, just finding my identity in Christ, knowing that I have purpose, knowing that God called me, He chose me, I didn't choose Him. I'm that foolish person He took from the world to come find the wise, to be able to speak His word, I mean. But I stay humble, I know that that I just want to retain. I want to, I want to pour myself out so I can pour more of Him inside, and just be available, not to be above reproach, just to be able to learn, to absorb, to have my ears open, and that's one of my prayers.
Because in there, your reputation is everything, and one little slip up, one little whatever, it's over.
Yeah.
And so I have translated that, whether intentionally or unintentionally, into my Christian walk.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to say. If not and it's not in a bad way, bro. But I use a lot of those morals that we used to have in there, bro. Yeah. And you can apply it to your Christian walk. Yeah. Especially the structure part. Yeah. Where you got to learn to self-discipline. God's asking yourself to discipline yourself daily. Discipline yourself daily.
Because you had to roll up your bunk. You had to have your cell clean. You had to,
Yeah. And you were doing it for the selfish things, for the worldly things. Why can't you do it for God?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have to be educated?
You have to be educated.
Right? You have to read?
Yeah, very much.
There was mandatory books you got to read and stuff. So to me, for me, like, this is what it's done for me, is inside, there was no room for mistakes. There was no room for rumors. There was no room for hearsay.
Yeah.
Because hearsay or saying the wrong thing that comes out later that was a lie, you're going to get yourself in a wreck.
Yeah.
You know, so I have learned now as a pastor and a Christian, like when somebody approaches me or I hear of a situation or whatever, I can see the one-sidedness of it, because I'm just like, have you thought this through 360 all the way around? And it's not going to say, it doesn't say that we're going to get everything perfect, but it kept me out of trouble in there by saying the wrong thing or assuming the wrong, you know, like to this day, one of my biggest pet peeves is when people assume. I can't stand when people assume stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that a fact? And they're like, yeah, it's a fact. Really? So you saw it happen?
Yeah.
Oh, no, so-and-so said because they heard from so-and-so. And I was like, that does not translate as fact.
Yeah.
You know, we got to do a whole 360. I did not, out of the 6 years I did not get into any violent incident, any argument of mass magnitude, nothing. Because I was careful of dotting my I's and crossing my T's, you know, because I didn't want to catch more time. I knew people knew who I was. I knew people were going to test me. I knew people were going to, you know, and I was always able to, outmaneuver the enemy's plans, you know, by just thinking things through and having a 360 vision to the best of my ability, you know. And for me, it has taught me a lot of life skills that I still use today.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know, it just, to me, it helps, you know, the structure, like you said, and all of those things. And I think it's important, you know.
And like that kind of goes to your saying, you know, let your walk be louder than your talk, you know. And there, you always used to tell each other, don't talk about it, be about it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You got a pretty good sized bark on you.
Yeah.
Let's see you bite. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, like another thing in there is that if you ever bring up an issue with somebody, if you make it an issue, if you don't understand, you're going to think like the homies are going to take care of it. And they're like, well, you brought up the issue.
Yeah.
So now you got to back up the issue that you're having with this person. So if you're brave enough to bring up an issue, then you better be brave enough to handle that issue. Yeah. And that's another thing too that I think is kind of a something that could be used as a life skill now. You know, and just a lot of stuff, man.
You know, because I know, like where I was at, you know, everywhere you went, and we're in the small quarters. You know, I mean, everywhere you went, you always had to have someone to assist you, another homeboy, someone that's gonna be there to either guide you, protect you, just to be up for the accountability. And as coming to Christ, you know, we have that similar, being accountable to one another. Yeah. And you know, and the Bible says Jesus sent everybody out in twos. You know, and I believe that's part of the accountability, and taking it from jail wise as you know, survival, as you know, you have another brother to assist you. And when you say to somebody, he's there to back what you said, you know what I mean? So there's not going to be that he says, she says stuff, because I have somebody here to quote unquote, you know, co-sign for what I said, you know what I mean? And so there's not going to be a time where I'm going to be talking to somebody and I come back, well, what were you guys saying over there? You know what I mean? And then, you know, basically it's like, you know, hey, bro, you know,
so accountability.
Exactly, you know, so, and you know, and not to say that that's how it was, you know, biblical inside there. It's just, you know, like brother was saying, that it's kind of familiar to where the walk with Christ, you know, but to let that go, you know, because I mean, we can't carry that into the church house, you know what I mean? That, you know, that's our old way, and we got to die to our old self, and you know, it's just, you know, the Bible says that you're a new creation, to come to Christ and change, you know what I mean? And not to just come for, you know, the information, but the transformation to be able to separate that, you know what I mean, from the world to serving Christ, because God wants us to love one another, you know, and we got to learn to you know, okay, that was our past, we're in that survival mode, but as we come to Christ, you know, we got to show love, we got to show compassion to the ones that are lost and hurting.
Yeah, but I do believe that this nation has become very soft, and I do believe that the moment Christianity becomes illegal, that God has raised up men and women that have been incarcerated and done time to lead in those times. because we know what it's like to live out of a locker. We know what it's like to have a 2-inch mattress.
That's right.
We know what it's like to survive off whatever it is that they give you, and you're going to eat what they give you.
That's right.
And just all of that stuff. So I believe that God has built an army and is still building an army with those that are incarcerated serving God, and those that have gotten out now and serving God now, that we can use those things. You know, when I read the book of Revelation, to me, that's a giant wheeler. Yeah. Because the Apostle John is talking about the Roman government. He's talking about Emperor Nero, but he's saying like, oh, Babylon the Great and the Mark of the Beast, and like he's talking in code. Yeah. He's talking in code to other Christians, you know, and I think that that's what it's gonna be later. You know, that's why it's like, I think the day will come where Christians aren't gonna be allowed to be on YouTube. Yeah. Christians aren't going to be allowed to be on Facebook. And if you do, boom, you're going to get a knock on the door and you're going to get arrested. So you get to learn a talking code. Yeah. And who knows better than those that have been incarcerated? Yeah. You know, and I just, I think that God knows what he's doing. Yes. You know, and he's building up men and women that, you know, can you imagine if there was no ex-cons and Christianity becomes illegal? It's going to be like throwing, you know, the lambs among wolves. But there's going to be those of us that know that life, know what it's like. And we're going to be able to not exalt, but use our skills that we've learned to help the brothers and the sisters.
Our awareness, Yeah,
to help them.
Yeah, and for them, not only that, but for them not to be deceived by prison politics, because a lot of people can twist and manipulate them. Not trying to go that route. Yeah. But we all know that it can get twisted and manipulated to get these first termers to, you know what I'm saying? And I don't mean that with no disrespect. I'm not trying to go that route on this conversation, but I just, that's what comes to mind, is that we're going to be able to lead them and just really keep them away from, you know what I'm saying, flowing that way and being, you know, mind manipulated. You know, but another thing is, like, you know, we come from our background, because I met some really good people in prison, in jail, and everything like that. And every once in a while, I'll run into somebody out here on the streets that just reminds me of that person. And my heart and my compassion goes out to them, like, because they were really good, sharp individuals, but they got out and they let the world get the best of them, and you know, they get strung out. But you're like, man, what happened to that dude? That dude was the sharpest dude, you know, and whatever. And I think that's where God uses us, to have compassion upon those that everybody else sees as something else, you know?
Yeah. That's good, man. That's good. So, guys, we just wanted to, you know, have a little conversation with you and do a little part 2 of it. Hopefully you enjoy this kind of content. If you like this content, make sure you subscribe to this channel, hit like, leave a comment, share, do all those great and funny fun things. If you are not subscribed or don't watch the House of Rest, guys, over there, that you're going to get sermons and Bible studies, devotionals. We have membership for those that want to be a member, support what it is that we're doing. But I want to thank you guys for just jumping on and coming on, and hopefully this ain't the last time. I doubt it will be. But God bless you guys.
God bless you guys.
All right, guys. Let's see. What do we have here? Ending. Bam. There it is.